Last week, I received an exclusive invite to Klaviyo HQ in Sydney, and they said they were releasing a major update. Now, I asked them what it was about, and they said it was highly confidential, and they're only inviting sort of the top e-commerce entrepreneurs and brands to be part of this event. So I decided to take my camera along, document everything that I learned so that I could share it with you guys so you know firsthand exactly what's happening in e-commerce, in email marketing, and what Klaviyo have got coming for the next 12 months. So I flew off to Sydney and attended the event. Now, the first session was an intro by the Klaviyo co-founder, Ed Hallen, and he founded Klaviyo many years ago with Andrew Bilecki, and they founded on the principle that it was a data platform and they would learn everything they could about people and what they wanted and create this really personalized platform. That then turned into an email marketing platform, which was backed by data. Now, the problem was they hid all this data underneath and we could only use it every now and then. But over the last 6 months, they've really released that and allowed us to use it for hyper-personalization. And so that's when they talked about the roadmap that goes into Klaviyo. This is what I learned.
All right, we've just got the first session down and we had Cali, who's the VP of community marketing. And we learned about 3 really core, functions that are going to happen in Klaviyo this year. And I've got them written right here. So the first one is they're going to really focus on marketing, which is, no surprise because this is a marketing platform. But one thing they're really going to be pushing is what we call omni-channel marketing. So if we think about automations and flows, we can do automations and everything off triggers. But what's going to happen with omni-channel marketing is going to be able to do those automations directly from campaigns, and we're going to be able to send across multiple channels and do all this really cool stuff. The second thing that we talked about was service. Now, this is a brand new thing for Klaviyo. Rather than just focusing on e-commerce, we're now also going to be focusing on service. Think about customer inbox, think about customer service tickets, think about AI, live chats, all those sorts of things. They're going to be embedded directly in Klaviyo now, so you're not going to need to use other platforms to do that. And then the last one, which is akin to my heart, it's all about analytics. And there is a product which is being called the KDP, which is the Klaviyo Data Platform. And that means it's going to bring all the data together in some really easy to use reports so that we can grab those reports, we can make segments out of them, we can understand our customers, we can cross-sell products, we can do all this sort of stuff directly in one platform. So really the future from this roadmap, from what I'm seeing, is that we're focusing on the consumer. We're bringing everything into one platform. So you don't need to jump into other places. So we've got marketing, we've got service, and we've got analytics. Let's go to the next session.
All right, so after that session, there was a break where we got a chance to network with other e-commerce entrepreneurs and chat about things that were happening and get really excited about Klaviyo. But while we're on that break, there was a little booth to the side where they were creating customized Klaviyo drink bottles. So this was one that I got here, green, as it's sort of on my theme, but then I could actually get it customized. And as you can see, that one there says Ecom Coach. Pretty cool, right? Now, this video is actually sponsored by Klaviyo. They were nice enough to get me to the event, teach me all about it, and allow me to teach you guys what the roadmap was. And it's a super exciting platform. And to be honest, I've been using it for so many years now that I can't actually run an e-commerce store without it. I've used it in the large retail brands I've worked inside, the teams I've built, and I now use it in my own brands. And it is one of those tools that just, if I install it in a business, it just makes me money. So I have got a deal down below for you guys for Klaviyo. I'd highly recommend you give it a try if you haven't been using it, or if you're on the fence about it, now is the time to give it a try. Really good platform. So after that, we went into breakout streams, and the one I chose was called Growth Groups. And Growth Groups was great because we had 4 really solid e-commerce brands come together and talk on stage around how they're growing their businesses, the strategies they're using, and the ways that they're not just using Klaviyo, but the way they're running the e-commerce business to grow. And these brands have all seen hyper growth. So I'm going to cut now to what I learned directly from that little growth group.
All right, so I just finished a session, which was with 4 amazing brands that talked about their growth stories, and it was called the Growth Group. And I wanted to give you a couple of key takes out of this one. As you can see, it's pretty quiet here. I had to get out of the event because it was too loud to film out there. And obviously they're cleaning up. But this is the takeaways that I have from that growth session. The first one is about sophisticated capturing of data. And it's not just like capturing any data like email address, but it's understanding data from the entire customer journey, from when they visit the website to when they purchase with you, to what they do on your website, so how to opening emails and how to interacting with it. So data capture is more than just capturing email addresses, it's being more sophisticated. The second thing was being as personable as possible. So personalizing at every touch point. Now, there's a few really cool tools coming out, which is the Klaviyo Custom Hub, which is going to allow you to do this personalization at scale so that if someone visits the site, we know what they visited, what they're most likely to buy, who they are, all the sort of coupon codes, everything that goes along with it. So personalization is key. The other thing that this growth group said was that listen to the customer as much as possible and put the customer at the center of all your products. Use them to iterate, use them to innovate, take their feedback on board and have this feedback group, understand what it is that your customers want, create a community, get that feedback from the community and put it into your products. And that leads me on to the next one that they really heavily spoke about. And every one of the brand founders spoke about this, and that is about investing in your community. Create a Facebook group, create clubs, create some sort of way that the community can get together and celebrate your product together. Invest in that because that community is going to pay dividends in the future. The next thing they talked about is that brand is everything. And there was actually a stat that was shared that said brands that have a higher brand awareness actually convert better in performance ads, because if someone's seen the brand, they're more likely to buy from that brand, right? And then the final thing that was a real key takeaway is that innovation is important, but education is the key to understanding what your product is and why people buy it from you. All right, I'm off to my next session now.
So inspiring to hear from other e-commerce founders going through the same things as us, but actually gives them the tips and tricks that are helping them grow their store. Now that was really cool, but this is where the next part was awesome. We actually heard from Shopify now, and they brought in one of Australia's biggest or fastest growing e-commerce brands, which is called LSKD. And we had the digital marketing manager in there, and they were having a Q&A session exactly on how LSKD are growing their Shopify store. So here is my take on what I learned in that session.
Okay, I just got out of an amazing session with Shopify and one of the fastest growing brands here in Australia. And they dropped 3 key insights that I'm hearing throughout this entire event. The first one is community is absolutely everything. They built their brand on the back of community. They created a Facebook group that has now over 100,000 subscribers, and they're using that to shape their products, find out what's happening, get a sense of the industry. And they found that that has been the biggest driver for their business. The second thing that this brand said was, as good as knowing all the analytics and all the data and everything that we can get in e-commerce, stick to your brand values, stick to your core principles, stick to your gut, and really use that to drive the way of the business. Because it's often the founder that knows what works in the business, that knows what brand it is, and then use the data to try and back up that decision. But at the end of the day, always go with your gut, go with your values, and go with what your brand really stands for. And then the third one was unifying your technology. So everything that we learn around community and brand values, the only way we can bring that all together is by unifying technology. So obviously using tools like Shopify and Klaviyo were big in this event, but by bringing those together and all the other tools in your tool set, that you use this to try and amplify and grow your business. So use the community, use the values, and then use the tech to make it really shine. All right, I'm off to the next event. Okay, it's been 8 hours of learning here at the Klaviyo Sydney, and I'm just going to have a quick recap and then I am done for the day. So I've been in and out of sessions, hearing from amazing brands, and as you can see, everyone's closing up. But there's 3 key takeaways that I've learned here. One is feedback is absolutely everything, and it should be the way to shape your brand. And that's not feedback just from customer reviews, but it's building a community, listening to that community, and just taking on board what your customers say, because the customers will shape not only your product, but the direction of your business. The second one was not just thinking about customers as a transaction, but thinking about them as a person, and then trying to use the technology to bring all that together. Think about your customer hub and the experience they have online and how that connects to your product, your brand, and the interactions they have with you and your team members. And the final one is, leverage data and analytics and AI and everything as you need to make your business better. It shouldn't actually drive the direction of your business, but it should allow you to, make sure that your focus is in the right areas and not spin too far in either direction. And the brands that we hear that are doing this are the ones that are growing sustainably, profitably, and using email marketing, data analytics, and personalization at the heart of their business to really grow it. So hope that's helpful. I'm going to jump on a plane now, and I hope you've enjoyed this little vlog.